They took away his food stamps.
Why was he getting food
Because
stamps?
he was one of them.
He was in, he was
Yeah.
in
He was one
Germany,
of, he was,
was in the
Oh, okay.
US military.
no, he was in the German military in
Yeah, I got it
1914.
covered. Well, I will.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll be there
And
by
so-
10,
Yeah.
but the circus
Where's the
starts
code?
at 10:30.
Oh, I see it, it's
Yeah.
over, it's hanging up on the corner.
Okay.
They took away his
Okay.
food
Okay.
stamps because he was one of them. Will you understand what that means?
One of the Germans?
No.
One of these,
He was,
US.
no, he was one of them.
What do you mean by them?
Yeah,
That's
what-
the,
what-
that's
what-
the,
yes.
that's the confusing, that's what,
Yeah, what was it? Aber auch einer. He was one too.
A Nazi?
Yeah.
that's how they,
That's what
how
he
they
said.
categorized them, huh?
And every time you mention his name, they say he was one of them. That's what they say.
We'll see you guys later.
Okay,
so
this will go on.
Okay. Yep.
And so I was in his class of 6.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be there, about 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can also ask him about the rodeo marriage that he.
Yeah, I remember, I've heard that before, but I haven't recorded
We'll see
it
you
for sure.
See you tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good
See you
evening.
tomorrow about 10, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it, that's it.
Really?
One thing I have that I was gonna ask you about, is I've got some pictures here, and I want you to identify who they are.
Okay.
They're old pictures that I got from, let's see, I gotta get it on here first. And let's see here.
It should be taking notes.
Lean up
we'll
against
be
the
there.
desk, so you don't fall over backwards.
But I'm gonna get my camera ready in case you do.
So, some of these I
It looked
tell
like
you
a
who they
rodeo
are.
picture.
My
I
uncle
should take
Ed.
this off.
Legs up in the air.
This was taken 1959.
Yeah, horse
Napoleon had a
training.
75th Jubilee.
Yeah.
And after the shindig in town was over, we all came out to the Gums farm.
I see.
And all the guys had their beards, you know, and there's Gilbert, my dad, of course, and Eddie. And that's me on that picture there. So,
Can you make it larger?
I can, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
too,
see,
yeah,
how do I
yeah.
do that
It's
here?
really
I have
small.
to do
Yeah.
that, like,
Yeah.
you can see that. But anyway, I'm just pictures that I have
Yeah,
that, you know, I
yeah.
thought you might be interested in, so let's see
Yeah.
here.
That's what I know, yeah.
And this one you, I think, are
That's on the
familiar.
internet, you know.
Oh, this one's on the
Yeah,
internet?
yeah, it's on the internet.
It is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so let's take a look at that. Yeah, and that's August, right?
Yeah,
Right there.
Okay.
And my dad, and then
Yeah.
is that Gilbert right there? That must be Gilbert.
Where am I?
I don't know that you're on there.
Well, yeah, I would think I was in college.
You
No.
might have, I don't know, there's your dad, and then
Who's
your,
this here, yeah?
that is Merle, I think.
I see.
Because in 41, he'd have been about 2 years
Yeah, I
old.
remember when he was born,
Yeah.
the very day.
And I'm not sure who this is. This might
Rose,
be
it's
Rose.
Rose,
That's
yeah.
Rose, and that's who, Adela?
Yeah, Della, yeah.
And this must be Gertie
Gertie.
and Laura.
Laura, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Gosh, she looks so young.
What'd you say?
You look so young.
Yeah,
I wonder why that is
yeah,
now.
yeah, pretty young.
Okay, and you recognize that
Yeah,
picture,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's, yeah. I remember when they dug the well there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was Jake. Jake.
If you want to sit on that side and see what we're looking at, you
I
can.
was thinking about sitting
Yeah,
here,
Oh, you, okay, you can do it.
but I don't know if I can fit in there.
Well, you're not that big, are you?
Yeah, I'm big.
Let's see here. And that's the forge that my dad used, and it's been
Yeah.
donated to a museum in Bismarck.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's a place called Buckstop Junction,
Is that right?
and that's how you see it got painted up, because it wasn't nearly that fancy when I used to crank it, you know, so. That's the same. Oh, wait a minute, this picture here, this was taken, I know you're
Yeah,
on.
this is where they're digging the well. This is-
No, they're not.
that-
This was actually after my mom and dad bought the farm. They were gonna move this barn, which was
Yeah, I
a
know.
little bit, it was actually on the road right away.
I see.
And so they had to move it away from that so they could build a road there later. But this, I believe, is you right there.
I see.
And that's my Uncle Edward there, and I think that's my dad. I'm not sure who that is. That's my mother, Lily, Sally. Do you know who the other people are, by any chance?
Who dug the
Make this
well?
one better, bigger.
I don't know.
It gets pixelated if I make it too much
Oh, yeah.
bigger. Yeah, I can
Gosh,
do
I
it.
don't know what it was, you know, I wouldn't know.
Wally, who dug the well? Is that the
That
gentleman?
was a company, that was Zimmerman.
Is that who that might be?
Jacob Zimmerman. Jacob Zimmerman was the one that he lived there, and then he went to Fargo, and then he got cancer there.
Yeah, that was many years
You
later.
know, if they're digging the well, then who really
This
dug
one,
it?
they weren't digging the well in this
Oh,
picture.
okay, I'm sorry.
This,
Yeah,
the well was already there.
yeah.
I don't know who those were, but I'm guessing this might be.
The Rose?
Well, I'm trying to think. It might be Laura and Gertie.
Who's behind?
This, I think, might be Rose or
Who's
Adela.
this?
That is Sally.
Oh,
That's,
Is it Mom?
That's Lily.
oh, that's Lily?
Yeah,
This is
Mom. Yep.
Yeah.
Mom, Lily,
Now,
Sally.
who's this here?
That's you.
That's me, yeah. That was in the, time?
42.
Yeah, I came home, that's the summer of 42.
And
I-
you helped
yeah.
them pour cement and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you see, Edward is down here. He's the one that's kneeled over foundation thing that he's building there.
Yeah, I went to college,
Okay.
42.
Oops. And my dad used to go deer hunting even as an old man.
Yeah.
He had a gratis license, you know, he didn't have to
Yeah.
pay it, so he got that deer. I think that's the antlers I have in my,
Yeah.
if I remember
Screen
right,
porch?
Screen porch. And
So they wanna get
picture
rid
of
of-
my dad with crocuses.
The antlers I want to get rid of.
Picture of my dad in 1936.
Yeah, I remember that's when he went to Montana. He bummed it a couple times, wasn't it? When
Yes, he did.
yeah.
This you probably would recognize the person.
Ted Zemo, he's the one
That's
that
right.
ordained me.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came down here often.
He would come and visit.
Yeah,
he
he would.
was a pastor, right?
Yeah, he'd come down for the winter.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
He'd go golfing.
Okay.
That's Emily.
Emil, yeah, it'd be a first cousin.
Yeah,
His
yeah.
father was Jake, right?
He was the one that preached in Glickstall in 19, that's the first thing I remember. Yeah, his grandmother wanted to hear him preach. But he never preached in German. He didn't preach German.
No?
Oh, really?
And I have a story about how I kept my German. Could I tell that story right away?
Oh, you can do whatever you
Okay.
want. This is a free country.
I was in the dorm, right, with a roommate. And he was majoring in German. So we were talking. I forgot I was German, really. So I took this German book here and I started reading. Oh, you can read that? Yeah, I said I was confirmed. So I said, by golly, next semester I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take that. It's easy for me. So I told him, I went out in the hallway and I told one of the students, next year I'm going to take German. 10 years they won't even know there was a Germany. That was the mentality, But I took it, and then I majored. But it was just because of that one thing. Otherwise,
That's got your interest level. Huh?
yeah. Otherwise, I probably would never have taken it
Yeah.
because it was.
And you would have never met your wife.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Okay.
Unbelievable what happens in life.
Yeah, this is just a picture that was taken at my parents' what was it, 40th?
50.
Or was this the 50th?
Yeah.
Probably the
What are they
50th.
wearing?
My mom's wearing a
Yeah,
white
who's
dress.
this now?
That's
50th.
Arlen. That's my younger brother
Oh
Arlen.
yeah, of course.
Or Dora.
Your mother, she was quite a lady, you could come there any time and she was always open,
See, I think we've seen that. Oops, I'm going the wrong direction here. Okay, this was a picture taken at my parents' 25th wedding anniversary.
I
And the reason Merle isn't in the picture is because he was in the Air Force at the time.
see.
This was around Christmas time. You can see the 25 there.
Did he volunteer for that, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep. Yeah, he was not drafted, so
Yeah,
he had to
yeah,
go for
yeah,
it.
we had to, somehow we always felt that we weren't drafted, so it was kind of a drawback, you know. Everybody was bragging and, yeah, okay.
And another picture, and this is a picture of one of the few pictures we have where my parents are with my son Dustin. He lives in Grand Forks. He's
I see.
works for the North Dakota Highway Department.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's a civil engineer there, and so we
Yeah,
see him, you
yeah.
know, not every week, but just about every week
I
it
see,
seems like, you know.
yeah.
It's one of the few pictures where the three of us are kind of together,
Yeah.
you know, he was just a baby, you know, because I just don't remember where we have pictures of the grandparents and Dustin
Yeah.
together like that, but you probably
Just when he was a
recognize-
baby?
Well, this is when he was a baby, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we have
Yeah,
other
look at
pictures.
that.
Of them together.
Oh, yeah, this is, oh, a hot one.
No, no.
Otto.
No, no, it's not. It's your cousin's husband.
Yeah, yeah, well, what's his name?
Hemrick,
Henry, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And you know who that is, I assume, right? This guy here,
That's right.
named after your dad.
Oh,
Oh, Benny Fritz.
The Benny Fritz.
benefits, yeah. You know, we called him that, we called him benefits because it was, you know, not lame, but Benny's son, you know.
Yeah, right, exactly, Benny Fritz. And this is Gottlieb's wife, I believe. What's her name, Catherine or
Yeah, yeah.
something like that?
Yeah, I got to know her sister, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see, you're not on this, but we'll see if you recognize anybody on here.
Yeah, I wouldn't know any of that.
This is Gilbert right here. His grandpa, your dad.
Yeah, yeah.
This is my uncle Ed.
What kind of car? That's not our car, of course.
Man, I don't know whose it was.
Gosh, I don't know any.
And I don't know, do you know who these people are on this
No,
picture?
I don't think.
I can't
I
see
think
the
you're
picture.
on there somewhere, but I'm not sure which one is you. I'm guessing it might be that one.
What year was this taken?
Let's see, 42
I wouldn't
according.
be on there.
Yeah,
I
was
guess
it,
you wouldn't be, would you?
Mm-mm.
That'd be kind of tough for you to be.
thought
on.
of even
None of us are on here.
That looks
Merle.
like Lily there, but I don't know
Could be.
because Edward's there,
Yeah.
and I think that's
That
Dad.
could, you think so?
I think so. That's Gilbert.
For all the things that
I
Ted
I don't know
did.
who. I don't know who
See,
this
Take
Bernie
is.
the
was what,
pictures with me.
43?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
You don't
Merle
recognize
was
them?
No, I don't
one.
know.
Siblings.
I didn't even know the car.
Really?
No, I don't know who had that car.
There's a picture of our farm taken.
Yeah, right, yeah.
What were you gonna say about that?
Oh, I was just, you know, this, right here is where you have that big rock in the hill, overlooking the lakes.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know how they got the buffalo? They would put them in the swamp, and the buffalo couldn't get up. And that's where all the oil comes from these dead animals.
Oh,
They all died. There's
When they're
all that oil
decomposing.
for the millions of years, you know. Because the animals went down there and they couldn't get up, and so they died, and they died year after year. Yeah.
Recognize anybody here?
Talk about
That's
animal
what I
cruelty.
preached,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think this was in '68.
There was no
if I remember.
PETA.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Shoot them and feed them.
I
Yeah,
was never
exactly.
comfortable in preaching, I must say.
You weren't, huh?
I wasn't, it was always, when I had a text, the thing that I was looking for is gratitude.
From?
In the text. That was, you know, that was always my aim. You read text, you know, you find something that you're thankful for.
Oh,
That became a spin. But somebody was telling me he had the same thing, but he couldn't do that one text where they beheaded John. He said,
Little-
You be thankful it wasn't you.
Well, but he was beheaded, you know, so, but that was the way it was, you know, that preaching is quite a thing, you know. Oh, we don't have a preaching nowadays, I'm sorry to say that. I never had,
They're all new school.
I always had a full house. Always had a full house, you know. And if they didn't come, I'd go and visit.
Standing
Yeah,
room
but look
only.
at the percentage of people dropping out of the churches that are members that don't go.
Yeah, well, but
And their siblings don't go.
yeah, well, I would visit the grandmothers. You'd go to the grandmothers and you'd talk, then she would tell him, yeah, Johann, the pastor was here and he asked about you. That was a key thing, you know, yeah. But they say it was different times, I don't know. But I think if you had to have a sermon that you could take home. You had to have a theme. And so that somebody would say, well, what did you preach about? Yeah, that's what I preached. This and so. And there's a little story we used to have about Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge went to town. You probably heard that. Have you heard that?
No,
Yeah. Calvin Coolidge went to town, you know, he didn't say much about words. And so he went home, he didn't go to church, his wife came home and, he went, but she didn't. So she said, who preached? So-and-so preached, what did he preach about? He preached about sin. What did he say about sin? I guess he wasn't for it.
You know what Will Rogers said about Calvin Coolidge?
Yeah.
He says, Calvin Coolidge didn't say much, and when he did, he didn't say much.
But there were some of them that remarked real nasty. They said, well, he died, but was he ever born?
Oh, gee.
You know about Roosevelt, they said mad things about him too, you know. Yeah.
This
Now,
is,
this
this was actually something else I think that my dad donated to that museum, and it was a picture taken up at that.
Your dad was very conscious of that.
Yeah, he really was. This is a picture of your family, and I'm not sure what the event was.
Now, Leo was home.
Yeah, everybody's there except, I think Rose might be the only one that wasn't there. Oh, there's Rose.
That was me in the back, huh?
Yep, that's you with the face covered up.
Yeah.
And Gil and Rose and Gertie, and I think that is, Adela might have been the only one that wasn't
They
there.
didn't take care of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Leo went to California, you know. There was something about that too, you know. Leo joined in March 19th, before the Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And they generally had it that there was one in the family, then the others didn't have to go, you know. But I was drafted. And I think I told you that story, didn't you? Yeah, okay. That's an interesting story. Sometimes my name wasn't Steele, North Dakota, I guess. But I went to college. And
Ruben, do you want some water?
yeah, and so I had a draft board in Waverly. So we got our draft notice, there were two of us, 12:01 a.m. Now if you get a letter 12:01 a.m., what would you think? You would think it's the same day. So we got down there, we played cards, got down there. There's no bus. Well, here. Well, look, it's AM. It's not PM, it's AM. Oh. So we got scared, you know, because you see. And so we went next day, we went, he was a friend of mine, Seiler was his name. We went to the draft board right away, early in the morning. He said to me, yeah, they said it's a common mistake. So now you can wait till the next bus. Well, the next bus didn't take until May.
Holy.
And so I went to school. But, so the bus came, took us to Des Moines, you know, bus ticket. We got to Des Moines, they found a murmur of my heart. So they thought there's people takes. So they said you would wait till afterwards. So while I was there, they needed somebody to sit there. They came from here, came from there with their card, and it was blue. It was drafted. It was 4F. They showed it to me. So I sat there. There, one of them came. We showed them papers. Was about to. Then they took the test, and they found us hard as okay. So they said you're in the Navy. And I remember they were arguing like mad. They said, you know, we don't need them more in the Navy, one in the Army, that, you know. So I was in the Navy. So I was in the Navy, but instead of going home, we went to summer school. So I stayed in Waverly. This was now, in September, I found out that the troop train had left Bismarck, North Dakota, on the 1st of July with my name on it. And you know what that meant?
Fence
Or
sergeant.
AWOL.
The AWOL, anybody that sees you has to be arrested. And then I found out that my parents got the notice.
When
But
you're
they
in
said,
college.
what the heck is the notice here for? He's down there. Stuff that happens, you wouldn't believe it, you know, yeah. And then we kept going, but I went back to Steele, and I talked to the draft board, and they said it was a mistake. And also one of the persons that I went to school with, I visited him in the hospital. Weary was his name. His birthday was on December the 25th or something, and mine was January 1st. Now if your birthday is January 1st, that meant there was 3 months left. You see, so he got drafted, and then they went 3 months, you know. But I visited him. He was an Iwo Jima, you know. Yeah. He
Was that Bill Worley?
That was it was a Worry, George Worry.
Or that would be a brother, I
Oh,
believe.
Rory, okay.
There were 2 Georges, you know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not Rory.
Yeah.
You said Rory?
Worry.
Worry, George Worry.
There's a river in Germany by the name of Worry, you know.
There
And
is.
Jacob Worry was the one that owned that farm, you know. And when we were hauling bundles, and I worked for him, he said, "Yeah, you are hauling bundles for me. I hauled bundles for your grandfather in Germany, in Klickstall,
Oh, really?
Oh.
because the grandfather was one of the richest people.
Oh.
Yeah, they were the richest people. They were the founders of this village. And when they came to Russia, they were promised they didn't have to go to the military, and they could stay, they would keep their religion. They were promised that. And then the Russians changed that thing.
Damn Russians.
And he was the first one to go. So he was in the military, and the way I understand it is that they had the annual, training, you know. It wasn't constant, annual training, because they could be home for harvest. And so he had this training, and he caught sickness and died. He was 27, 28 years old. And they called him, he was a nimmersat. He never had enough. He never had enough.
Never satisfied?
Yeah, he never had enough.
See.
And so the story was, I talked to people who know, they said that one time that they went out in the fields. It was foggy. And they were going to be the first ones, you know. So they were out there, and sure enough, in the fog, here comes Frisch with his horses. He had been there before. He was never shot. I think he never had enough, you know. Yeah, that was his. And he died when he was 28. And when my mother when my mother came, she told me that more than once, before they left Glickstal, her mother went to the grave and said, remember, this is where your grandfather and your father lived. They're down there. So when they came to North Dakota there, they had that battle between the Seventh-day Adventists and the Lutherans. And that was so bad that they couldn't allow them together anymore. RClar, every time RClar came, they'd argue about the Sabbath day, Sabbath day, Sabbath day, you know. And my mother's mother told him, he said, you're going to get everybody else, but you're not going to get Rosina. She's going to be a Lutheran.
Oh, really?
All that.
Because that was not his natural daughter, right? I mean.
Yeah. Well, he was, for example, when the Lutherans drove on Sunday morning, he would be cultivating right there so they could see it, you know.
He's working in
He's
there in the
working
church.
out. Yeah, and they argue so bad. But you know about the Seventh-day Adventists, what I tell them, how are you going to keep that? And there are some people living in the Arctic Circle where you have the sun never going down. How are you going to do that? And he, for example,
Tell Sharon that.
yeah,
I got a long letter from him.
he, for example, on Saturday you give 1/10, but he'd count the eggs on Saturday and he'd give 10% for that too yet. You know. Okay, now there's another thing, for example, when they were hauling bundles there, and all that stuff, my family doesn't want to hear about that anymore. But all that, for example, when they were thrashing there, and when the sun goes down, he had to be home, see? And so he'd start out real early, you know, to say, oh, the sun is still up. Yeah, but when I get down to the valley there, it's not going to be sun.
Oh my goodness. So overwhelmed.
Recognize these people?
I gotta have it. No, I don't know.
Aunt Margaret, but I'm not sure who that is.
Oh, Aunt Margaret, and is that her sister?
That's what I'm wondering. I wonder if you
Yeah,
recognize.
but she was older.
Then what?
No, I think she was just visiting.
Older than dirt.
I think she was just visiting. Because she had Katharina there. There you have another story. Okay. My grandfather was a blacksmith. Okay. And he had a drinking problem.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Who, Carl?
No, not Carl. My grandfather.
Oh, that is Carl.
Yeah.
Carl.
Yeah, he had a drinking problem.
He did.
Yeah.
Never heard
In
of
fact, Ben was saying that once in a while, I heard that once in a while he'd come home and they were so poor that when somebody came through the door, that's what Ben said, my grandmother would quickly put up the dishes as though she was doing the dishes, you know. They didn't have anything to eat because she was afraid somebody would come and probably wanted something to eat, you know. And so, but he never drank when he crossed the Atlantic. And so he had that. And then what happened in a blacksmith, that was, you needed a lot of tools for the blacksmith, see? And I think one of the reasons why he knew what was going on is because these Russian soldiers would come by there and they would get for their horses. See, they would tell them, oh, you take this thing in Russia, they're fighting Japanese, you know, and so on. You better, because they had to go to the military, see. And so they decided that first of all, Katharina, and Jacob would go to America to earn enough money so the others could go. So they came over, and they earned enough money. So the next two came, and they earned enough money so the whole family could go.
So
Yeah.
it was Katharina and which one was the first two?
Ben.
Not
No,
Ben.
not Ben, no.
What was it?
Jacob.
See,
Jacob, okay,
He
okay.
was a
so
slick,
they were the first to come over.
he was
Yeah.
a slick one too, you know, Jacob. They settled in South Dakota. And when they came to South Dakota, Gottlieb was 18 years old.
Yeah.
His wife was the daughter of a really rich family. They'd come there for 10, 15 years. And so when he came, he started dating this one, you know. You 18 years old, you newcomer, you know, you're not going to have any success with that woman. Oh, that's not evening yet for every day, you know. So she was supposed to be married to somebody, and she went out the window, the middle of the night. The person that drove them, I got to know him in North Dakota. They went to the minister and he married him.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So they really eloped, huh?
Yeah, he eloped, yeah. And then when he came there, they lived there, and she was reformed, see? And so they had to drive by that church, you know, so he became reformed. Which is a little bit different, Reformed and Lutheran. When you're Lutheran in Europe, it was you memorized the Lutheran Catechism, you know. And that's where I met the person who wrote that book from, you know. Because I couldn't go home because the problem was not from getting to Butte to Dawson, North Dakota. The problem was from getting to Dawson, North Dakota to get on the farm.
Because there's no transportation, you mean? Yeah.
I was there once till all snow, nothing. You know, you couldn't call anybody, you know. I was there one.
Didn't use the cell phone?
I was there one time waiting for somebody to come, and so they were in the restaurant. They're talking about, you know, if we could just get that dirt flying. Well, you get dirt flying. There was somebody that died in Dawson. He didn't have a minister, and they didn't want to bury him without a minister. So they were saying if we could just get somebody to have that dirt fly so they could bury him. But that's what I heard, you know. So I got there, and that was always a big problem, how to get home, you know, how to get home. That snow was
Because there
there.
were no roads and stuff like that.
Yeah, there were roads.
Do you
yeah.
recognize these two people?
Oh yeah, that's Jacob.
Lang, Fred's brother, our grandpa's brother. That'd be your uncle?
Of course.
Well, I don't know. I guess it was.
That's Jacob. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's the one that.
Should know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now I have a story about that too. Okay.
You have a story about pretty much
Yeah,
everything, right?
Yeah, okay, now I have a good story. In South Dakota, we had two uncles, right? We had Gottlieb and Jakob.
They lived in Fremont area.
Yeah. Gottlieb, they were kind of the farmer type, and Jakob was not. And so, they knew that in North Dakota, you had just about free college tuition. Because in North Dakota, when they made North Dakota, they divided it up, so much land goes to the colleges. You could never buy that land, you still can't. You can only rent it. That's why they get so much money from the universities. You know, because they get that school land. And so they went to Valley City. First one of them, Jacob, and then Andrew went to Valley City because they could get free. But they had to show that they were residents of South North Dakota. So what do you think they did? They took Uncle Ben to be their father.
Yeah, really?
But they were told they were not supposed to mail anything to him. So one day Uncle Ben got this letter, "You owe so much." You know, so much, he had to pay it, and he's really, and two of them went there claiming that Uncle Ben was their father, And now John, the oldest one, the oldest one, he went on and he married the English teacher. He wrote a book on the Navy. And that book is supposed to have 200,000 items, maybe I'm overdoing it. Okay. So he got that and so on, and he was on the when Nixon was president, he was the one that would go to meetings to Turkey. To Turkey, yeah,
Like
big
an
deal.
ambassador?
Do some kind of big thing.
Ambassador?
Like, yeah,
Not only that,
No.
but he would go there and he would stop in Cleversulzbach. But that isn't the end of the story. When they had the funeral for Emil's mother, you know, he came, and his wife didn't come. So Emil asked him, "Where's your wife?" It would have meant another ticket. Oh, he got so mad at another ticket. He was a millionaire, you know. But when he looked at his finances, it was not what you earned, but what you could deduct. So he built a big house. I don't know how many toilets and so on because he could deduct and so on. But he stopped by, and now to make this even more so, I was in Paris. It's shifting completely. I was in Paris, and in Paris they don't have a central railway. If you want to go to Amsterdam, you have to go there and so. So I took the train to Amsterdam. So I was there, waiting there, and some people back of me was telling me, to his wife, was talking to his wife, he had just been in a seminar in Carey Island, I think it was. And there was this man from South Dakota, he was born in South Dakota, and so on and so on. Yeah, I talked about this man. So I went up to him and said, "Do you mean J.J. Lane?" "Yeah, J.J. Lane, he was at a seminar in Canary Island." And then I was, we had a history meeting in Washington. Every year we had to go, a big meeting. It had maybe 2,000 professors and all. It was a national thing. And the school in St. Paul, they wanted us to go there because they wanted to be recognized. And he was in Washington, and I called him that I would be in this hotel, and he wanted to come, but it snowed all night. So I got a call in the morning that he couldn't come, so I met him. And then to make the story even longer, when I was having a scholarship here, I thought she would probably get some money for that scholarship. So I wrote a letter, and I just about started crying because she said she was so poor. But that money's all lost.
It is.
And then he was also, now that was something, he was also, when he, in Tappan, he would come there. I don't know what the connection was, but he would come there. Oh yeah, I think it was my grandmother's, when she was 80 years old, they had a big celebration. And he worked someplace, I forget it, for Gross, you know.
You recognize these people at all?
Gosh,
I think that's Andrew Lang. That's
Andrew Lang.
yeah, and that's his brother. What was his brother's name? Didn't he retire to Texas? Mom and Dad used to talk about him all the time.
See, his brother was Jay's son.
Not evil, huh?
No, not Emil. Let's see here. I might.
Yeah, he was a professor in Forest City. Forest City in Minnesota.
Art.
Oh.
Art.
Oh,
Sure, Art and
Art in
Dorothy.
Texas. Yeah.
And Dorothy, they're in Grapevine.
They had
Great
something
Lake.
on the internet. He's 100 years old, but it was on the internet. He passed away.
Yeah. So this
He
is.
visited us.
This is.
Art visited
This
us.
is Art and this is Andrew, but I'm not sure. I assume they're the wives of these two guys, but I'm not sure who this lady is. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Dad was down in Texas and stayed with us, we drove. we
Yeah,
drove up
that's what I
there.
recall, that's what I
See 'em.
recall.
Yeah, we were, he would
Okay.
come to history meetings we come to in St. Paul, you know. I forget what it was some kind of teaching, and I met him, I saw him in the hallway there.
Art?
And you know,
Oh,
what was, not Art,
I was gonna say Art was.
what was his name now? We just had him,
Andrew?
Andrea. And we were there, and there was a big meeting there at the hotel. Here comes the mayor, here comes this, and so on and so on. I said, what's going on here? It's the St. Olaf College. That's what they do. The real big wheels live in Minneapolis. And when our people thought about those mean Eastern bankers, you know who they meant? Those SOBs in Minneapolis.
Oh, that's as far
Those were the ones. Those wheat. My dad was on a federal court one time to Fargo, and it was he was selected there, and he was in Fargo for not the ordinary court, but the next levels, and they're not supposed to talk about it. But he came home, and we asked him what was that all about. We just had 2 words or 3. The railroads have enough money. So he voted
That was
against.
back then already.
He voted against railroads.
Do you know, this is Jake, right? Jake, Uncle
yeah,
Jake.
yeah.
Is that Emil there?
That's anyway, yeah.
Do you know the rest of the people on this picture?
Gosh, I don't know.
You don't, okay.
But I know.
I was hoping you could identify him, because I have no
Andrew
record.
was always having trouble with his sisters. He was telling me, you know, they were always giving him trouble. And his.
But I don't
Yeah.
see, that's not Andrew there though, is it?
But you know, one thing is, when Lottie, when she was over here, she really got homesick, you know. So we would go to Jacob's wife, and she was such a wonderful person.
Is she on this picture, his wife on this
I
picture?
don't know, but she would go there, we'd go out there, and she could console her so much.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lottie went through a lot, you know. That first Christmas, she cried like a baby. Yeah.
Hard, huh?
Yeah.
So you don't know, that's Emil and Jake?
Yeah,
but you
yeah, well,
don't-
they all went to California. They went to California, a lot of these girls.
So Gisela died now, didn't she?
Who's that?
Gisela, her sister.
Yeah, I died, yeah. Yeah, you went to California. Andy used to talk about his sisters. We would see, when I couldn't go home to North Dakota, I went to South Dakota to my uncles, you know. And I went there one time.
So both Jacob and Gottlieb were in South Dakota. Why did Andrew end up in Virginia, Minnesota, or something like that?
Yeah, well, he was a graduate of,
Okay.
Valley City. And
Okay.
You know, yeah.
And he's the one that used his brother for dad,
Yeah, he used Ben from
which is a brother.
Would be an uncle.
Uncle,
Uncle.
yeah, his stuff, yeah. All that stuff. And what's his name? John Lang had a painting that he made for my uncle, you know. He gave a nice painting. I saw it several times when I was in Napoleon. And it showed Switzerland. When you take the train from Geneva to Lausanne, it's the same image. And I was wondering why in the heck could he get that to Switzerland? He got that from an image, he got that from a picture.
Just paint.
You know what I mean?
A painting
Like-
of it.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out, just like I have another story for you. You know, I used to have much fun with my students, you know. Now, the printing press was developed in China. That's what I told the students. But I had somebody from Korea said, no, it was Korea. Okay. But in Germany, they say that, what's his name, invented,
Gutenberg?
yeah, he invented printing press. And so I'd ask students, I'd say, now, how could they get a printing press from over there to Germany? Now you figure that out. That student figured out how in the world did they move that? Well, the only thing they needed was the idea.
True. Yeah, and they built it from
You
there.
didn't have to move the whole darn thing.
Yeah.
To steal the
But,
idea.
yeah, well, steal it, you know. So just show it, you
And
know.
we had patent rights
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
you know, and you had for students, they went around South Africa or someplace, you know. I'm overdoing
They're
it.
figuring a way to physically move it.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
So this is Jake and his girls, is that
Yeah,
right?
that's it, yeah.
Because they show 4 or 5 of them on
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
don't
they
know.
were, yeah. That's the one Andrew was complaining a lot about. I know they gave him so much trouble.
Yeah.
Are there any relatives
Yes, my mother.
living down there in
I don't
Freeman?
think, no, I don't
We
think.
go through there all the time when we come.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
they are
man.
90 years
Yeah,
old.
one year. Oh, by the way, I did figure out that you've got 36 more days to go to outlive your mother.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was a
Yeah, okay.
computer
yeah,
thing.
Okay, yeah,
There's a picture
36 more days to do what?
to live longer than his mother
yeah,
did.
yeah,
Because she lived 34,800 days and he's lived
Oh, I think we're doing it by days now.
34,764.
I think you better go down to the minutes.
She had good genes. Good genes, yeah.
Where did that come
I-
from? The Rushes? Who was the
Well, I don't
the
know.
tough-
It's hard to say, but yeah. That's that's the grandmother. She was
Yeah.
only 5'2", you know.
Oh, really?
She lived on the farm, and in I forget, in 1928, I think it was, she went to Tappan.
After he had died, right?
Yeah, he died in 24, where I was born.
What caused his death?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably.
You
I don't
know?
think
He
it
was
was,
a pretty old man. I mean,
No,
for
he
that
was-
time, it was pretty old.
Yeah.
He was old when he came over already.
51, yeah.
Yeah, but the reason they brought him, got him over here because he had a lot of sons and they needed sons for the build America. But that's a story by itself.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, can I just interject that?
Sure.
After the First World War, the Americans thought they would get paid for fighting in Germany. So they wanted reparations from Germany. And so the Prime Minister of Germany, Erzberger, I wrote about that stuff. He told them, hey, you want reparations? What about the time when you needed money to free the slaves? Who gave that money? The Frankfurt bankers, so that the North could buy the ammunition in Europe to fight their battles to free the slaves. See? Okay, you pay that back plus interest, and then
We'll talk about reparations.
if that's not enough, think of all the thousands of young people that we trained in Germany to be whatever they're supposed to be. They came over here after we trained them, and you used them. You pay that back, then we pay you. And now just imagine,
They were trying to get even, huh?
just imagine in 1932, I checked that out in German and Swiss papers, you know. There was, Roosevelt was running for president, you know. And they said that if Roosevelt gets elected, the French will have to pay, or are going to pay, the American soldiers who fought over there.
In World War I.
Over here. So the soldiers kept track of how many days they were in France, you know. So. But there was one little if there. That is, if the Germans pay the French. If they pay the French, then they pay us, which wouldn't pay. And that was the cause of the Great Depression. That was caused it, you know, because the French borrowed a lot of money before we were in the war, see? And they said they would repay it, but they of course never did, you know. But this is, yeah,
You know who this is?
this is Emil Lang. isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the clock he made, because he did that as a retirement hobby.
Yeah.
And he gave that to my parents,
Yes,
or,
sir.
or I don't know if he gave it to them, but my parents got it anyway. And because Dustin is the oldest Lang grandson under the Ted Lang, so that's actually in my son's house now. Actually,
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a good man. He was a
And when in college, I knew a guy. His name
Who's
was.
he gonna pass it on to?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I am not.
I don't think he worries about it.
This is a picture taken
WDNY?
at the Markward
I
farm,
say I don't think Dustin worries about that.
and it's just when
Right.
you're all little kids, the
I
baby
worry
boomer
about
kids,
it.
children, kids of the baby boom.
If it
They're
was
like
so important for
Erica,
Dustin,
Barbara,
he did because he was
Cindy
wasn't important to
Hybeck,
Dustin.
Mark
Lang.
Warren,
He
that's
didn't really
me.
want it.
I don't know who
I mean,
this is.
I don't think so.
wonder what he
This
would say about
is
He
who
Who's
is
this
that?
over here?
That's Roger Hybeck.
And, we didn't know that.
That's Durella.
Yeah.
That's
Hilton.
Roger Hybeck, yeah,
Yeah.
that's Durella, or Adela's son.
Could go on some
Jerry
of those.
Markward, Rhonda Markward, June, no, not June, Cheryl Learn, Jimmy Markward. I think this is Linda Silling and Carol Silling. No, this is Linda Silling and Carol Silling.
Now there's
So
Gilbert's
the
kids.
Silling girls are here, the
Gilbert's
Markward kids
grandsons.
are here, and then these are
No, but-
Yeah, but
Gerties.
this
Wanna
is,
plug your phone in?
And then the Hybeck, these two are Hybecks.
But
And
they're
Barbara
not
Warner.
There's a high bank that lives in Wyoming yet, isn't it?
Yes, but they just moved. I just talked to
What-
her.
About whom are you talking?
Cindy Hybeck, we were at, what were we at?
Well, Dorella,
She was at somebody's funeral, Laura's funeral. I
That's
talked to
Cindy.
her.
we had somebody
Cindy
here.
Hybeck was at
I
Laura's
didn't-
funeral.
I don't remember seeing her.
Yeah.
I never talked to her or anything.
Because that's how we found out that they don't live in Wyoming. He retired and they moved to Nevada or somewhere. They're not in Wyoming anymore.
I didn't even see her.
Yeah.
Was she
Well,
out?
what was their name in Minnesota there? What's the name of that town?
Dorella? Oh,
Yeah, what's the name of
Ada, Minnesota?
Who are you talking about?
the? Yeah, the Dorella.
Yeah.
She lived. She was married to a. What was his name?
Lelm.
Yeah.
Larry Lelm.
We had somebody here in Seguin. He was the neighbor of that.
Oh, really?
What in the world?
Yeah, Ada, Minnesota.
He was in Pearl Harbor, but he never believed that because he was.
You never believed what?
That there was a surprise attack, because he told me more than once that for days and days they were taking away the battleships and replacing them with old battleships.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To kind of like a
Yeah,
decoy
yeah, we
thing.
did.
Because the aircraft carriers, none of the aircraft
No,
carriers
no,
were.
they knew it. He never believed that.
That it was a total surprise.
No,
No, I've read that too, that,
Yeah.
that FDR knew damn well that was gonna happen.
Yeah. They put an
That was hard to get
embargo
into
on
the
them.
war. I don't know if it's true, but
Yeah.
Yeah, they put an embargo on them. They couldn't
Yeah.
help. But it's history. That's my dad. Yeah.
And who's that?
Well, that is Ben.
That's Jake.
And that's Ben. isn't
That's
it?
Ben, yeah, right. Yep.
I was Ben one time. He was very politically minded.
Oh, Ben was too?
Really?
Oh.
Worse than Gottlieb?
He shouted, $10 billion in debt. Oh, good grief. The country is going to be $10 billion in debt, you know.
He'd have a
How
heart
can
attack
you-
today.
How can you conceive that, you know? He
So
was
that's
a-
where Gottlieb got that from, huh?
Yeah, you see, the thing was with Ben's, the school teachers stayed with them. They had a special place.
oh boy.
They had a special room for her, you know. And so they
Called it
spoke
prison.
English,
No.
you see. Yeah. They spoke English in this kind of thing. And he always got a little, I guess they must have got money for that, you know, that stayed with them.
Yeah, they got a little money for housing and teachers.
Yeah.
Well, but wasn't it that they didn't have to pay, like over, I remember, not Gigi Township, is if you housed a teacher, room and board, you didn't have to pay a certain tax to the school.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That was a trade-off.
There was some way of, yeah, there was some
That
kind
was
of
a trade-off.
compensation,
So
yeah.
whatever normally they would assess for school, you probably got to exempt from that.
You gotta-
Yeah.
Ah.
Well,
And I think,
They knew how to prorate it out that it
I
would, you know,
think
each
they-
one was equal, and then they knew what it would cost the room and board to teach
Yeah.
you,
But
so.
basically, they offset your taxes with whatever the board would.
I think-
Correct.
I have a little story there. I think that this was one of the things that if they had students that took correspondence courses, that they got some extra too. I don't know.
Probably from,
Because
it was high school, yeah.
We had to,
To
we could not take our school home. It was not homework. We had to go to school. That's where they kept everything.
Okay.
And there I have, when Roosevelt became, I tell this to the librarian here, when Roosevelt became president, our school got, I guess, I don't know, $2,000 or something for new books. And so the question was, my dad was on the school board, what to do with the old books. So they put them in big boxes and put them in that old building there, the homestead. So he had maybe, I don't know, about 9 or 10 books. So I took those books, I had 207, put them on the shelf, you know. And I didn't like novels. My wife likes novels. I said, no, that's digest. So I had
That's where that comes from.
and I had 207 books lined up. And when I had to herd cattle, I would take one of those books and go out there and everything. And you could write on them because they're old anyway, you know. So I read one time that Alexander the Great could stand on his horse galloping. What? So I can learn that too. I learned I could go, but you had to be barefooted. I read in the book, Alexander the Great did it. Oh gosh.
You can be Reuben the Great.
What's?
You can be Reuben the Great.
Yeah, Reuben. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you recognize anybody here. I don't know if
This is
that's
Warner.
Grandpa or
That's
not.
Warner. That's Warner.
You think so?
Yeah, that's Warner. Yeah.
Okay.
You know about his bees, don't you?
Who's?
Warner's.
When you say Warner, is it August Warner? You mean?
August
Or-
Warner. You know about
He
it.
had bees? I didn't know he had
Oh,
bees.
gee, did he have bees?
Really?
Yeah.
He had a what?
He was cultivating.
A beekeeper?
He was cultivating. He was working on a field with clover, and he hit one of those bees that he had to go on the ground and cover himself with dirt to get away.
Oh, I see. So he wasn't raising bees. They were
No, he
raising,
was
they were
raising
raising
it.
him,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. He had all kinds of stuff from it. That was he had a lightning story too, you know, when this lightning struck. And this is where Harley's
August
Yeah.
Warner got struck by lightning?
My dad
thing.
my dad labeled this picture. That's Sam Raisler.
He had a sister. He had a sister that when the thunderstorm came one night, they went down the kitchen, you know, that was to pray and so on. She was in the window and struck and dead.
Lightning did? Really?
So the worst thing you can do is when you get out of bed. But the idea was you go there to pray because why was it a matter of praying? God is scolding. God is scolding. So you laid in bed and you said, what did I do wrong? That's another one. That's the first thing. You know what did I do now?
Get under the bed.
Yeah, this is actually the way you reacted.
Is that right?
And then the rainbow, God is alive. See the rainbow alive.
But
Yeah.
August Warner's sister was killed by lightning?
Yeah, lightning.
Oh.
Yeah, she went down there.
So were there two girls?
No, well, she died.
I know, but I...
Yeah.
Well, there was at least two girls. There was
Yeah, yeah.
Frida, and there
Oh,
was
Frida.
Lillian.
Lillian
the one
is
that's
the
married
one.
to an
And
Olsen.
then he had that horrible
Lillian.
problem with the railroad company. Remember? Did you remember that?
August, you're
August?
talking about still?
Yeah.
No.
Well, his land backed up to that, didn't it?
He was in the army, you know. He was in California. He was in
Yeah.
Florida here, and he became a draft dodger. Everybody, not a draft dodger. He became
You went AWOL.
AWOL. No, dishonorable discharge.
I knew it was dishonorable discharge, but I didn't know why.
Yeah, he was, because he his back problem was whatever it was. And so they operated on him. And it was one of the most painful things you can imagine. So right in Seguin here, we have a doctor right across the street. And he told me about that operation. And he said that was the easiest operation that you could think. But he said when they used that to get out of the army, they made it so damn painful you wouldn't believe it. That's what this doctor told me that.